When you guys started Will and Grace, it wasn't necessarily the most easy time for LGBT rights, people in the LGBT community. Not yet. It's still not the easiest time, but
Right.
we weren't where we are now.
Right.
I'm curious what sort of response that you guys got. You got definitely an overwhelmingly positive response in regards to ratings, in regards to the community support.
Yeah.
But what about the support? What about the people who weren't supporting it? How aware were you guys made aware of people who were haters?
I think we were all aware of the potential for haters and the inevitability of haters prior to even shooting the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that the opening scene of the pilot, when Will and I are on the phone talking about George Clooney on ER and how we both find him handsome, the way it was written was so subtle that they did testing afterwards, and half the audience didn't realize at the end of the pilot that Will was gay.
Wow.
And that was considered a good thing for the show. That they would slowly, part of me is like, how could you not know? To me, it's like, it's so obvious in the writing, but,
I imagine
the
like a bunch
point
of
being was that, they wanted this show to have legs.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that they would have to capture the audience's heart through laughter first.
Mm-hmm.
And that, anything that could be perceived as proselytizing or anything political or too liberal
Mm-hmm.
Would be the death knell for a show, because middle America really controls much of what is on television in
Mm-hmm.
terms of just the sheer number, and so I think we were aware, and we got just as many letters of hate as we did of love. But the beautiful thing was that the scales tipped very quickly. And I had this encounter I was in the middle of America in an airport, and this woman came up to me. She was in her 60s, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love Will and Grace." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And she was like, "My husband would not even look at the television when it first started. He would read the newspaper, and he said, 'I'm not going to watch that. I don't believe in it. I don't condone it.'" She said, "And now he walks around and he's like, 'Just Jack.'" and I swear, I almost started to cry, because I thought, that's a miracle.
It's so strange to me, shows like Will and Grace and numerous other shows from the 90s, essentially, when there was must-see TV, and there were shows that were absolutely adored, people really want a reunion. Is that so strange to you that people want a reunion, or does it excite you that people still talk about it and care about it that much?
Oh, I totally understand it, because I grew up on the Carol Burnett show, and I love Lucy, and but I remember wanting a Carol Burnett reunion, and I remember there being one where at least they all got together and they chose their what they thought were the funniest moments over all the years. And watching it was heaven for me. To see them laughing at themselves, to see what they thought was funny and what they didn't think was funny. So I get it. The thing that's really difficult about Will and Grace is that our season finale was, ended, it was 25 years in the future. So having a reunion, it'd have to be geriatric Will and Grace for it to actually be able to happen, because we all know what happened between real time and 25 years later.
I love the idea of geriatric Will and Grace. I want an entire episode of all of you decked out as elderly people walking around.
See, I'm in.
Trading banter. You're in.
I'm in.
Will was not a Lothario. He wasn't getting laid all the time, because I don't think America wanted to see that from a sitcom anyway. But what we were kind of doing, without even realizing how insidious it was, we were creating a character of a grown-up gay man that wanted to meet the love of his life and have a marriage-like relationship.